The MLS Cup is nearly upon us, and listening to most of the media attention, it would be easy to think there is only one team in North American soccer's championship game. Los Angeles Galaxy and its army of supporters are dominating the headlines, with what may be David Beckham's final game before returning to Europe, the overriding storyline going to the match at the Home Depot Center. For the other team, the Houston Dynamo, ducking under the radar suits them just fine. The club conducts its business in a more low-key fashion than its rivals from Tinseltown that has a quiet confidence and belief in its ability to spring a Sunday shocker. If the Galaxy is a fancy sports car, Houston is a family wagon, full of familiarity and with a close bond to its community. Yet community spirit means little without performance on the field, and the architect responsible for that is a man who has spent most of his adult life not just witnessing the growth of American soccer, but living it. Dominic Kinnear is a two-time MLS Cup winner, having led the Dynamo to back-to-back trophies in 2006 and 2007. Some barren years followed, but Kinnear has rebuilt a squad he feels capable of lifting the trophy. He steered the Dynamo to a sparkling run of late-season form and powered them through the playoffs.
The turning point for me was the game at Dallas. It was the first away victory of the year. I think it kind of gave the guys confidence to push us back into the playoffs again. And then, when you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. I think we've played our best stuff probably the 3 weeks before the playoffs and into it, so we've caught form at the right time. And the only way it can become really special is if you win the Cup final. If you look at the team on paper, they have 3 players that stand out with Robbie Keane, David Beckham, and Landon Donovan, and we're considered a hard-working team. Both teams I think will be well prepared to play this game. I think maybe on paper we're the underdog, but I think if you were to ask myself and Bruce Arena what their thoughts are, I think it's a game that both teams want to win, both teams can win, but I don't think any team is going to be overwhelmed. The squads are a little bit thinner than they used to be. I think if you look at our teams in 2006, 07, and 08, I mean, it was, we had an excellent team from top to bottom. So I think the quality of that team depth-wise was probably a little bit stronger than it is now. But I think the similarities are, I think we understand what you need to win in this league. And the message from me is completely the same as it was back in those days.
Well, without him, I don't think we would be where we are. He is, without doubt, in my eyes, the #1 coach in MLS, and he, his achievements speak for themselves. He was a great player. He knows the game. He knows the game inside out. He knows the player side of it. He knows the coaching side of it. But Dom's great thing is that he knows how to get the best out of the players he's got. He knows what he wants. Those players know what he wants, and Dom's able to gel these guys together. And he does a wonderful job. And we're very, very thankful to have him here.
The tough years for Houston included the loss of star players such as Stuart Holden, Dwayne De Rosario and Ricardo Clark as they headed on to more lucrative pastures. That, though, paved the way for a new crop of players to come through. Kinnear, however, retains a strong bond with Holden, Clark and De Rosario and spoke positively about his relationship between those US internationals.
The first time I saw Ricardo was at a combine, MLS Combine, completely caught my eye. And he, for me, has become had become, with the Earthquakes and with the Dynamo, one of the premier holding midfielders in the league. Saw his contract. Good luck to him. A totally different story with Stuart Holden. Had no idea who he was. We came to Houston, and I got in touch with, actually Thomas Rongen got in touch with me and said, hey, there's a player down in Houston you may want to take a look at. And so, well, what gave me this information? It was a kid called Stuart Holden. So we brought him into preseason camp. Liked what we saw. Obviously, he was young and really not well established in soccer, and we signed him, and then it was up to him. I'll give him a ton of credit because we didn't know him at all, but the examples that were laid out in front of him, from Brad to Brian Mullen to Dwayne, Ricardo Clark, Brian Ching, all these guys, I think it was pretty simple for him or for anybody to kind of look at those guys and try not to mimic them, but take on the characteristics of those guys. But along the way, you have to have technical ability and drive, and that's the 2 things that he has. He has good technical ability, and his determination to get better every day is one of the best that I've seen. So he came along on his own. I think the players had a lot to do with his development more so than the coaches.